We had a very sweet blonde-haired blue-eyed mom and dad along with their entire extended family in the room for a delivery one busy afternoon at work. Think aunts, uncles, cousins, grandma and grandpa too. The baby is born, and as the doctor places her on the mom's chest, the first words out of her mouth are, "That's not my baby. That's not my baby." The baby in question, still attached at the umbilical cord, has beautiful dark curly black hair, and dark skin. The nurse looks at her and tells her that this is definitely her baby because she's still attached to you, and she, not so quietly, tells the nurse, "There's no way, I never slept with a black man. It's not mine." The father is standing there silent, not sure what to do. A long awkward silence fills the room. We clean her and baby up as cheerfully as we can. We see the extended family filter out of the room and the father leave to get a cigarette. About 10 minutes later, a tall black guy walks up to our front desk asking how to get to the patient in question's room. I was assisting at a cesarean when I was a junior doctor. The woman's dark-skinned partner had been in prison 9 months or so. I took the baby immediately upon delivery and announced cheerily, "It's a boy." Her first words were, "Is it black?" Luckily the baby was a mocha color that could have gone either way, and I told her in a mildly confused manner, "It could be." Paramedic here. Our crew delivered a full berth in the back of our rig. We have 2 paramedics in the back with the PT, a driver, and I'm working on the laptop listening to info they are telling me to add to the report. All of a sudden, it goes kind of quiet. I hear the mother let out a very loud, "Oh shit, it's not white." She was very white. Few more seconds of silence, and I'm like. The driver alarm, beeping light on the center console sent from a button in the back, was pressed 2 times quickly, generally meaning to turn around to get info for the report. I turn from the front passenger seat to see a very dark skin-colored baby, I'm guessing Cuban. I can't see the mother's face, but all I see is her shaking her head. She begins to worry, saying that her husband is meeting us there at the hospital. He can't see this. I just continue the report, and am not sure what the problem is, but I guess we'll see when we get there. Flash forward, to the ER. We stop outside the ambulance bay. I get out to open the doors, and am met by another very white heavy-set guy in a uniform shirt, dress pants, and glasses, asked me if his wife was in there and she was in labor when he was coming home. Hospital policy dictates that we can't have random people that we can't confirm identity that close to the rig when opening doors for PT safety. Security is there quick, holds him back a bit. We open the doors, roll the PT and her newborn out. He takes one look, sees the color of the baby. Jaw drop, look of despair. Like a 1,000-yard stare. Even security had a look like, wow, that woman fucked up, and this guy knows it now. Wife, babe, I can explain every bit of this. I know it looks weird, but I can. We wheel her into ER. No sign of husband. Last I knew, the husband didn't check into the hospital as a visitor. I'm assuming he went home to pack his stuff. Okay, I am a nurse, but this isn't a story about a birth I witnessed, it was my own birth. And although my mother definitely didn't cheat, all the midwives were convinced she had. And yet it'll be buried, but I think it's a funny story, so I'm going to share. For background, my mother, J, is white, and had got married young to another white guy, D, actually forced to by my grandparents, who were horrified she was living in sin. Their relationship petered out and they separated, but remained very good friends. Then she met my father, a black man, and began a relationship with him. Mum was still married at the time, neither her nor her husband were in a hurry to get divorced, and he became good friends with Mum's new partner, my dad. Mum fell pregnant with me. Time moves along. She goes into labor and needs to head up to the hospital. Dad was working and couldn't make it home in time to get her there, so still being good friends with the husband, she rings him and he comes around to drive her to hospital and decides to hang out until I'm born. After an hour or so Dad arrives. He was freaking out a bit, so his best friend, H, also a black guy, drove him because Dad didn't trust himself. They arrive at the hospital right as Mum is ready to deliver. The midwives come out to the waiting room to grab the husband to be there when baby is born. They knew that Mum's actual husband, D, had driven her there, so assumed that he was the father of the baby. Went and grabbed him and tried to drag him into the delivery room. He freaked out and yelled, "No, no, I'm not the father, I'm just the husband. The father is Aboriginal." Dad and H pulled up into the car park as this is happening, and Dad leaps out of the car. Decides he needs to have a quick smoke to settle his nerves before he goes in. His best friend H doesn't smoke cigarettes but does smoke weed and is pretty stoned, so he walks in ahead. Just then the midwives come running back to the waiting room to grab the actual father, and see the only black guy in there. Obviously him, right? So they take him and suit him up to bring him down to delivery. Being pretty stoned, H doesn't question this and just goes along with it. The midwives reach the delivery room and shove him inside. Mum, legs in stirrups and at the pushing stage, goes absolutely ballistic. "Not that black guy, he's not the father, go get the other one." The midwives hustle H out and return him to the waiting room to wait with D. My dad, has come inside by now, and the midwives marched up to him and said something like, "I hope you're the father this time, otherwise I'm going to just give up and she can birth alone." So that's the story about how the hospital went through 3 different men before they finally got to my actual father. Paramedic here. Had a mother give birth to a healthy baby in a home. Situational awareness had not helped me yet at this point. I asked if the father was here to cut the cord. We paramedics usually shy away from this duty because it opens us up to unwanted legal ramifications should something go wrong. There was a calm in the air after I asked the question and went on to do it myself. Come a few moments later, I was approached by another occupant of the home who informed me that this was a home for victims of sexual assault and that the father of the baby was indeed also the father of the mother and was currently incarcerated due to the aforementioned situation. It was an awkward ride to the hospital after that. Not what I came here for, but damn, this must have been awkward. For her it must be like rubbing salt on the wound. I have a friend who was raped and she kept the resulting baby. She went to the hospital alone and one of the nurses was obsessed with her, calling the father in and hounded her the whole time about it, right up to the point where she was about to have her baby. She kept saying to her it's not too late to call the father in. I don't know how that nurse didn't get punched. Consulted a couple who were expecting a baby and were confused about how she had chlamydia, again. Turns out they both had chlamydia, both got treated and continued doing their thing. She could not get her head round how she had it again if he was the only guy she had slept with. He just looked very sheepish as I tried to subtly explain maybe he had caught it from elsewhere and passed it on. Took a long time for the penny to drop. One of those couples where you realize the kid won't get help with their science homework from their parents. So a friend of mine, he is unfortunately dead, had cancer and he was dating a girl for about 2 years. He then discovered he had cancer and that he would live at best 1 more year. His girlfriend announced to him a week later that she was pregnant. They were both white. He kept on saying that life is a joke. He was happy because he would have a baby now, but sad because he would die in a year anyway. 9 months later the baby was born and it was black. He then disappeared for weeks and we learned that he had died a month later. Felt so fucking sorry. Had two women give birth a few days apart on my floor. Turns out they actually had the same baby daddy. The father of the two newborns got both patients pregnant around the same time. It was an interesting day for the social worker. Oh man. A friend got two women pregnant, several months apart. One of the women had complications during the pregnancy and the baby was born very early. On the exact same day the other woman also went into labor. Father has two babies, same date of birth, different mothers. The women knew about one another, one ended up being insane and unfit and bolted. So the other woman is raising both kids. Do you have any similar stories? Comment down below. Subscribe for more Reddit extravaganza. Have a great day, you beautiful people.